happiness is you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 140th Annual Convention of the Mutual Insurance Association of Iowa. Although we are holding our meeting virtually this year, we will do our best to try to make it feel as normal as possible. With that said, I will ask John Paul to please give us our invocation. John?
Thanks, Angie. Dear Lord, we consider it a privilege to come before you in prayer, asking you to lift up our membership, associates, families, and friends. We know that 2020 has been a difficult year with many issues, including the COVID pandemic, drought, and the derecho that have affected our mutual insurance industry. Dear Lord, we pray that you keep us safe, smart, and faithful each day. May we keep our eyes open and our hearts focused on what you would have us do in all circumstances and relationships. We pray for those that are assuming new leadership roles with our association, those that have retired, and those that have been called home to be with you. May we continue to support those who are in need and prepare us for the days ahead. Ephesians 3:20 states, "Glory be to God, who by his mighty work within us is able to do far more than we would ever dare to ask or even dream of, infinitely beyond our highest prayers, desires, thoughts, or hopes." May we never fail to give you the praise. In your Son's name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, John. Now we would like to extend a huge thank you to our sponsors. Jenny has them listed here for us. We'd also like to remind everyone to please go and visit the virtual exhibit hall after this session. Links were sent to all the mutuals last week, and if you attend all 9 sessions and turn in your game card with the key phrase from each exhibitor, you will get $25 off your 2021 convention registration. So please be sure to go check them out. I'd now like to introduce NAMIC's chairman. Robert M. Zach is the president and chief executive officer of Merchants Mutual Insurance Company and its subsidiaries known as Merchants Insurance Group. Bob joined Merchants in 1985 after a career in public accounting. Prior to his appointment as president and CEO in 1995, he held the position of senior vice president and chief financial officer. A graduate of the State University of New York at Buffalo, Mr. Zach earned a Bachelor of Science and an MBA degrees in accounting and economics. Bob is a native of Western New York and lives in Buffalo with his wife, Margaret. They have 3 adult sons. Jenny will now play us Bob's message.
Hi. and thank you for the opportunity to address the MIAI's 140th Annual Convention. It is an honor to serve you and other members as NAMIC's board chair for the 2021 year. One of the things I was looking forward to most as NAMIC's board chair was visiting with state association members in parts of the country with which I'm not familiar. I wish we were together in person and hope we are able to gather safely in the near future. For your information, this is the first time I've used my iPad to record a talk, and it reminds me of my first experience with a teleprompter. A few years ago, I was asked by Buffalo State College to convene a graduation ceremony. After familiarizing myself with the teleprompter the day before the ceremony, I felt pretty confident. At the graduation, after the faculty procession was over and the national anthem and school songs were sung, I began the ceremony. About 2 sentences in, the words on the teleprompter started scrolling so fast they were a blur. I panicked and froze for what seemed like an eternity. What apparently was only a couple of seconds. I realized there was a paper copy of the script on the podium. I thought, this is what they do with rookies. I then proceeded with the paper script, and about 30 seconds later, the tech operating the teleprompter from another building on campus synced my words with the script, and all worked out well. I hope the same is true with this talk and your entire virtual meeting. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase preaching to the choir. That's what I feel like I'm doing today. Iowa's representation and participation with NAMIC is exemplary. Iowa has 70 people pursuing the Certified Professional Farm Mutual Manager designation, 200 people enrolled or certified in the Farm Mutual Director's Certificate Program, 35 people in NAMIC's Merit Society, 40 people from 29 companies who have participated in the Congressional Contact Program, 29 people from 13 organizations who have participated on 35 NAMIC boards and committees from 2018 to 2020. And currently, 19 people, 10 organizations on 19 NAMIC boards and committees. Specifically, your own Randy Druvenga is the immediate past chair of the NAMIC board. What a tough act to follow in more ways than one. Pat Fega is chair of the NAMICO Audit Committee. Ron Mead is the NAMIC Property Casualty Conference board chair-elect. And last but certainly not least, Ron Rutledge has just joined the NAMIC board. In total, 209 NAMIC members write insurance in Iowa, accounting for 60% of the market. Now, the number of people from the Hawkeye State involved in your association and in NAMIC makes it clear that you know what it means to be mutual. Let me share what it means to me. Some of you may have heard my talk at the 125th Annual NAMIC Convention when I touched on what mutual stands for, but I'd like to expand upon that. Let me spell out what it means to me. The M is for following our collective moral compass. The U for acting unselfishly. The T is for tenacity as we work for the greater good and benefit of our policyholders. The second U is to unify our voices and our dollars for a greater impact. The A, well, that encourages us to remain active in our community, in our state legislatures, and in the halls of Congress. And the L represents loyalty, our loyalty to policyholders and the mutual property casualty industry at large. So while serving policyholders had always been important to merchants, it wasn't until we became part of NAMIC that mutuality became a focus. And let me give you a little context. Merchants was among the dozen and a half companies or so that formed publicly traded subsidiaries in the 1980s. We lived with that corporate structure, 2 heads on one body for about 20 years, and there were many times when the demands of running a public company didn't match up with being a mutual. When we sold the public company in 2007, our need to focus as a mutual was sharpened. After a little research, it was clear that NAMIC was the natural vehicle to enhance our approach. And boy, what a difference it's made. As a medium-sized regional company, we never had a government affairs staff, and compliance has always been a challenge. NAMIC helped address these issues and was the perfect way for merchants to have its voice heard and to contribute to advancing our industry. Mutuality has never been more important than now in 2020, as NAMIC members have shared ideas, on how to operate in response to the pandemic, banded together to discourage ill-advised ideas from gaining traction, and work to frame the future of our industry. Our challenges are likely to grow as our country recovers from the pandemic, and we prepare for what comes next. The motto on Iowa's state flag, "Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain," provides great hope for our future. Thanks again for allowing me to join your meeting virtually. I hope our paths cross in person during my year as NAMIC Chair. Have a great day.
All right. The next person we'll hear from is NAMIC's President, Chuck Chamness. Chuck is no stranger to the mutual insurance industry, nor is he a stranger to many of you. He has been a part of the National Association of Mutual Insurance Companies since 1995 and led the association as president and CEO since 2003. Jenny will now play us Chuck's message.
Before I get started with my presentation, I'd like to recognize Jenny for her years of service to the mutual insurance industry and the Mutual Insurance Association of Iowa. I'm sorry I won't get to thank her in person during this year's meeting, and I'll certainly miss seeing that warm smile every year at our industry gatherings and NAMIC Advisory Council meetings. Congratulations, Jenny. I also want to thank fellow Iowan Randy Druvinga. His year as NAMIC Chair was unlike any other any member has ever experienced. Yet he moved through it with such a positive attitude and outlook. It's members like Randy who make me so proud to work at NAMIC. Many of you don't know this, but Randy actually made the long drive to Indianapolis on a Sunday, recorded convention sessions all day Monday, and then drove 8 hours home Monday evening. Now that is commitment. He recorded his state association speeches on the actual field of dreams, complete with walking out of the cornfield. Shoeless Joe Dravinga. Thank you again, Randy, for your continued leadership. And I'd like to start this morning by giving you a quick update on what has been a very challenging few months due to COVID-19. Nearly 8 months ago, when the pandemic first hit, NAMIC recognized right away the importance of information. So one of the first things we did was set up the dedicated COVID-19 Resource Center on the NAMIC website. This comprehensive center has functioned as the hub for all pandemic-related developments impacting our industry. It has a wealth of information, and I encourage you all to check it out if you haven't already. You'll find details on compliance-related topics. There's a section on litigation, along with updates on federal and state advocacy efforts. It also offers the latest industry and NAMIC news, with a section of stories on how mutual insurance companies have given back during this challenging time. On the advocacy front, when the pandemic hit, our industry suddenly had to come to grips with a daunting challenge, explaining why business interruption policies do not cover pandemics. They don't because pandemics are simply uninsurable. Still, we saw misguided proposals calling for retroactive business interruption insurance popping up all over the country. 20 proposals in 17 states and counting. Even today, there are a few states, New Jersey, Illinois, and Louisiana, where legislatures continue to threaten new BI initiatives. And as they've done since spring, our advocates are continuing to mobilize to stop them. NAMIC's policy team also has been working with other trade groups to develop a program to bolster the nation's economic resilience in the face of a future pandemic. Called the Business Continuity Protection Program, or BCPP, the program would provide protection following a future declared public health emergency. That protection would include payroll benefits and expense support to the private sector. Congress adjourned about a month ago in advance of the election with several proposals, including the BCPP, actively under consideration. It's our hope that with whatever ultimately emerges from the Congress, it will incorporate the best of the BCPP along with the best of other initiatives to create a long-term solution that will benefit everyone in a future pandemic. We all agree it's been a challenging year for our industry, but despite the many difficulties, mutual insurers have performed quite well. We know this because in August, just before this year's convention, NAMIC completed the third annual benchmark study on how mutuals are doing compared to their competitors. And once again, the results were positive, as the 2020 mutual factor continued to demonstrate the strength and resilience of mutual insurers. The newest mutual factor report, produced by NAMIC in partnership with Aon, is similar to the two other reports from 2018 and 2019 in reviewing annual performance. But the 2020 report also evaluated the first 2 quarters of the current year to see how mutuals performed during the pandemic. And it included the results of a survey of mutual insurance thought leaders on their perception of the industry. The findings of both were telling, so I'd like to share a bit of it with you today. First, the Mutual Factor Report estimated that in the months since the pandemic hit the insurance industry, the industry overall has returned nearly $9 billion in premiums. Mutual insurers returned $4.5 billion, mainly through policyholder dividends, while stocks returned $4.3 billion, primarily through premium credits. In Q2, the policyholder dividend ratio for mutual insurers was 5.8%, compared to 1.1% in Q1 2020, while the policyholder dividend ratio for stock insurers remained below 1% for both quarters. The report showed that mutuals ran at an underwriting loss because of their increased policyholder dividend ratio. The combined ratio for mutual insurers for Q2 2020 was 102, compared with 98 for stock companies, which operated with an underwriting profit. Not surprising given their focus on returns. In relation to ratings agencies, 90% of mutual insurance companies have strongest or very strong balance sheet strength ratings, compared to 79% for stock companies. This year's report also went beyond the numbers, with the inclusion of interviews with more than 20 industry executives from mutual insurance companies of different sizes, regions, and lines of business. We wanted to get their candid insights and perspectives about what challenges the industry is facing now and in the future. These leaders had a lot to say and offered perspectives on topics ranging from workplace to industry reputation, regulation, and litigation. They talked about technology and shared insights on the importance of mutuality. Here's a couple of quick examples. In terms of the workplace, most executives said they do not expect to see their offices at full capacity due to the pandemic for several months. And most leaders see a hybrid work environment in the future, with some employees in the office and some working remotely, and some doing both. Most felt that the transition to remote work went smoothly and credited communications with helping them get through the early stages of transition. Many executives agreed that the pandemic served as a catalyst and accelerated the pace of technological change. As a result, many predict that advanced technology may lead to consolidations of smaller companies. The executives highlighted the benefits of being a mutual insurer, with a commitment to mutual insurers' place on diversity and on their communities. Some pointed out that the issue of diversity plays into the principles of mutuality, and as their policyholders and their communities are becoming more diverse, so too should their workforce and their philanthropy. Leaders were almost unanimous in their support for the independent agent as the core of the mutual industry distribution system. But they also say agents must step up their game to add value to mutuals and policyholders by serving in more of a risk consulting role. There's much more to the 2020 Mutual Factor, and I encourage you to take some time to read through it. You can find the research in NAMIC's Mutual Resource Center, a new resource serving as a repository for all things mutual. Now, before wrapping up, I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the election, as there may be a new outlook on many of our important issues. I should note that I'm recording this on the morning after the election, so there's much that I don't yet know about the outcomes. But what we do know, and I expect will be a fact as you meet in mid-November, we have a divided country, and we're likely to continue to have a divided government. What we know is in terms of our issues that we care about as an industry in DC and in the states, they're not particularly partisan issues. We can make predictions. If there is a Biden-Harris administration, we know that the tax reform of 2017 will be reconsidered, and taxes will likely go up on corporations in America. So we'll be at work representing you on defending a whole host of special property casualty insurance treatments that we believe are necessary given the nature of our business. We also know the small mutual inflation update will likely receive some scrutiny, and we will certainly be working to defend that. As you know, though, and Iowa knows better than anywhere, tax policy, is written in House Ways and Means and Senate Finance Committee. And of course, the great Senator Chuck Grassley, who helped us so much over the years on tax policy, and particularly in the small mutual inflation update, thanks to you all talking with him about its importance. These are the kind of things that we'll be well positioned to deal with regardless of the election's outcome. HUD also will be a change. If there's a new administration, we can expect some kind of a return to the HUD regulation that was developed under the Obama era. If not, we hope that the regulation that's recently been implemented with respect to disparate impact will continue, and then we'll be able to drop our lawsuit that we've had now for many years against Department of Housing and Urban Development. But still, we're well positioned. Our lawsuit remains in place, and to the extent that the reg does not reflect the Supreme Court's decision, we can move forward with our lawsuit and make sure to hold them accountable. You know, in terms of other policy, I think we'll just have to wait and see. Certainly in the states and at the federal government, we will see scrutiny of underwriting and rating practices. Underwriting freedom is definitely under fire. About 30 states are expected to introduce some kind of legislation to roll back your ability to underwrite and rate policyholders. So we'll be active on that. So I think the summary is, regardless of the outcome of the election, we are well positioned to win on the issues that we need to win on as an industry, and we'll be in touch as we develop the game plan going forward to deal with it. Finally, I should note that I will soon be retiring from NAMIC, but rather than announcing a new leader this year, the board plans to introduce my replacement by next September at the annual convention. This will allow us to deal with these various COVID-related challenges, anticipating a more normal environment will return next fall. I hope I'm able to see many of you between now and then, but if that's not possible, I wanted you to know that our relationships over the past 25 years have enriched my life, and representing your companies and policyholders has been meaningful work. I'm grateful for all of it. Thank you, and thanks for your time today.
As Chuck mentioned, he is planning to retire sometime next year, so be sure to send him all your well wishes. He'd love to hear from you, I'm sure. Now for my report. If anyone would have told me last year at this time that I'd be giving my president's report via a webinar, I would have said they were crazy. Yes, this whole COVID-19 really played in my fear of public speaking well now, didn't it? But all kidding aside, I miss seeing everyone and really do wish that we could all be together today at the Holiday Inn. I'll keep my message brief, but I wanted to give you a little insight as to what all transpired this past year. The year started out pretty normal. The board met and the manager's meeting was held in Ames. However, we should have known then that we were going to be throwing some curveballs as we had to cancel the second day due to the weather. All in all, it was a fantastic meeting, and kudos to the committee that put it together. In February, Insurance Day on the Hill was held in Des Moines. And although it was a freezing 35 degrees below zero, we had a good representation. Because we were still in pre-COVID times, some were able to meet with their representatives, and most met the governor herself. Also at the beginning of the year, Jenny informed us that she was planning on retiring. A replacement committee was formed, which consisted of the past 5 presidents and the current officers. We met several times, posted the position, and accepted applications until May 1st. Over 30 applications were received, and were narrowed down to 4 for the board to review. I want to thank Bruce, Tom, Rich, Randy, Bill, Alan, and Scott for serving on that committee, and to Tom Cannon for chairing it. From there, it was up to the board to do the interviewing, which was all done via Zoom. Because of their HR knowledge, we hired the Carlisle Group to vet the final applicants. As you are all aware, we offered the position to Brian Dix, which he graciously accepted and started working with Jenny on July 1st. Brian, it's been great working with you in this new capacity, and it's so nice to know that there will be a seamless transition when Jenny retires in January. Summer brought more board meetings, all held via Zoom. We canceled the CCP trip and loss prevention seminar this year to keep everyone safe, and we also made the tough decision to not have an in-person convention. One event we were able to have this summer was the PAC golf outing in Eldora. 16 golfers attended and a little over $1,600 was raised. This is a fun event for a great cause, and I hope more of you will be able to attend in the years ahead. At the end of September, NAMIC held its 125th annual convention virtually, where our very own Randy Juvinga was president. Randy, I know this wasn't the way you thought your president year would be, but I gotta say, you made us all proud, and we thank you for what you've done and continue to do for our industry. To say this has been an unusual year is an understatement. From a pandemic to a derecho to the political environment, 2020 has been a year to learn from and a year to forget. But through it all, MIAI's mission has remained the same. With that said, one of the things that impressed me the most was that Jenny took it upon herself to start hosting weekly Zoom sessions. Jenny, thank you for taking the initiative to keep us connected with topics that are focused on what matters to our membership. I also want to thank you for your support and hard work, and frankly, for putting up with me this past year. You are a big reason that this association is a huge success. I wish you the best in your retirement and want you to know that you will be missed, although you're not going anywhere just yet. I also want to thank each one of you that has served on the board, on committees, and who offered your assistance and friendship throughout the year. Your support and dedication to this association exemplifies the best in the mutual insurance industry, so thank you. It's been a wonderful learning experience for me to have served as an officer these past 3 years. I sincerely thank you for the opportunity. It has indeed been an honor. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I would like to recognize the directors who are completing their term of service to the Mutual Insurance Association. Gary McKenna, Eden Mutual Insurance Association in Vinton, and Marcia Kralik, Adair County Mutual Insurance Association in Greenfield. I would like to recognize Bruce Thomas as well, Heartland Mutual Insurance Association, past president, for his service. Thank you guys. I believe Jenny has some gifts for you. She's gonna show them. There you go. And she'll get them to you as soon as she can. It is now my pleasure to introduce our association's executive director, Jenny Legates, for her secretary's report. Jenny?
Good morning, everyone. To echo Angie, I did not figure my last report to the membership was going to be out of my home office. Before I give you all the number crunching that I usually do, I would like to acknowledge Angie for her leadership this year as your president. She has worked diligently and has never complained when I've sent her scores of pages of association financial materials each month for her review and approval. I've enjoyed working with you. Thank you, Angie. And now for the numbers you all sort of wait for. The membership at the close of the 2019-2020 fiscal year includes 79 518-518A mutuals and 4 515 companies for a total of 83 members. This is down 3 from my report last year due to mergers. Our renewing associate members number 26, a decrease of 4, primarily because we are not having an in-person convention, and without the in-person exhibit hall, they didn't choose to renew. However, we have 2 new associate members who have joined since July 1, bringing the total to 28. Both the member and the associate member directories are up to date on the MIAI website, so be sure to go out there and print off those if you need them. We no longer mail the directories, but you can print from the website. The directories have a new feature, links to members' videos, which you can also view on MIAI's YouTube channel. These videos highlight the services available to our members, and I would say check them out. Some additional new activities this year include a contribution to the NAMIC Insurance Foundation in honor of Randy Jervinga's year as chairman of the NAMIC board. As Angie mentioned, we created the Wednesday MIAI discussion sessions to fill in some of the mission gap created by the pandemic. We also, as Angie said, had a successful recruitment of a highly qualified candidate, Brian Dix, who will assume the position of Executive Director, Secretary Treasurer of MIAI in January. We did have one MIAI PAC activity this year with a luncheon held in September in conjunction with the 10th annual golf outing. This has been our one in-person event since earlier this year. In fiscal 2019 to 2020, MIAI PAC contributions were $14,538. This was down slightly from the previous year because the golf outing was postponed from June to September, thus moving any contributions into the next fiscal year. That it was down only slightly compared with the prior year is due to the generosity of these 14 quarterbacker mutuals. If you don't see your name up there, or if you don't see your mutual's name on this slide, there's still time to change that. Just give me a call and I will let you know your required investment. Since 2019-2020 was a non-election year, the PAC contributed $8,250 to key Iowa legislators. So far this fiscal year, and primarily it was in October, the MIAI PAC contributed $13,350, the largest amount we have ever done. And this still leaves us with a current balance of $13,279. I encourage all of you, managers and directors alike, to participate in the MIAI PAC, be it through personal contributions, participation in the MIAI golf outing, the MIAI Quarterbacker Club, as well as the convention advocacy lunch, which we normally hold. Your voices need to be heard in the Iowa legislature, and the PAC is a significant way to make that happen. We also extend a big thank you to Mike St. Clair and Katie Hall for their legislative relationship building activities on our behalf. At this time, let us remember those who have passed away since the last convention, and we recognize them for all their services to our association and to our member companies. We remember Daryl Fredrickson on June 12th. Daryl served as a director of Danish Mutual from 1984 to 1999. Harold E. Vorba on June 29th. As written by the manager of Tama County, on May 6, 1970, the Tama County Mutual Board of Directors met, and at that meeting, a 40-year-old Harold Vorba was elected to replace his father, F.W. Vorba, on the board. Harold was a thoughtful, active director and chairman for 46 years, retiring from the board in 2016. He and his wife, Verena, enjoyed many annual conventions and their friends in the mutual insurance business. A great guy. Vern Meyer on September 2nd. Vern served as Howard County Mutual's board president. Gene Ripley on September 10th, 2020. Gene was appointed as director of Southwest Iowa Mutual in 1997 and served as its president from 2004 to 2019. He served as a director of Legacy Mutual Insurance from January 1st, 2020 until his passing. He was an advocate of the MIAI and its mission and looked forward to attending convention every year. Donald E. Bortz on October 2nd. Donald retired from the Floyd County Mutual Board in 2018 after serving SCM for 43 years. 16 of those were as vice president. Don was a great man and will be sorely missed. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember those who are no longer with us. Finally, I would like to express my thanks and appreciation to the MIAI officers, all the board members, committee chairpersons, committee members, present and past, as well as all the members of this association with whom I've had the opportunity to work in the last 6 years. It's been fun and rewarding. Thank you for the honor of serving as your association executive director. I am very confident that the association will be served well by Brian Dix for many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. All right. I'd now like to recognize the following individuals who have completed the requirements and received the Professional Farm Mutual Manager Certification in 2020. TJ Crandall, Farmers Mutual in Osage. Scott Curran, Humboldt Mutual. Ethan Lindquist, Pocahontas Mutual. Josh McGowan, Eden Mutual, and Tara Porin of People's Mutual. Let's give these 5 a round of applause for their achievement. Oh, you can only hear me, I think. All right. Now I'd like to recognize those members who completed the requirements and received the Farm Mutual Director Certification, FMDC, in 2020. Brad Dawfield, White Pigeon Mutual. Jared Marks of White Pigeon Mutual. Joseph McClarney, JCM Mutual. Jody Ryan, Powashik Mutual. Joseph Schlinger, Farmers Mutual in Hull. Gary Schroeder, Heritage Mutual. Brian Simmons, JCM Mutual. Mark Teglauer, JCM Mutual. Brad Van Heuvelin, sorry about that, Brad, Farmers Mutual in Hull. Larry Worley, JCM Mutual. Let's give these all a round of applause for their efforts as well. All right, I will now ask Randy Dravenga to introduce our Public Service Award winner.
Thank you, Angie. People taking care of people is the foundation of our companies and this association. Today, I'm honored to award this year's Public Service Award to Dielda Deemer. Many of you know Dielda. She's the widow of my former boss, friend, and mentor, David Deemer. On September 2nd, I noticed an article in a local newspaper. Dielda was being recognized for sewing and distributing 1,000 plus face masks for the greater good of her community. Dielda was again recognized on October 2nd, is what caught my eye, and again in the newspaper, as she donated the monies given to her for mask making to a local nonprofit organization focused on supporting community members in need. The articles are there on the screen in front of you that caught my attention. Dielda's actions emulate the foundation of our industry, people taking care of people. Congratulations, and thank you, Dielda, for your service. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Randy. And what an awesome thing for her to do for everyone. Do be sure to tell her hi and congratulations from all of us here. I will now ask John Paul to introduce our Prime Award recipient for 2020.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, John.
Okay. The Prime Award is the acronym for Personal Recognition Involving Mutual Endeavors. It is the Mutual Insurance Association of Iowa's most prestigious award. The nomination process identifies a potential winner of the Prime Award being a living, current, or former member, board member, or officer associated with an Iowa domiciled mutual insurance association or company. Someone who has demonstrated extraordinary efforts on behalf of the mutual insurance industry. In general, this is the most distinguished award that we can give. In 1990, our association conceived the Prime Award, and the 2020 represents our 30th year of celebrating this distinguished award. After high school graduation, this individual attended Marshalltown Community College for 2 years with a drafting degree. Worked for 10 years in the engineering department for Fisher Controls. Returned to his hometown to farm with his father, then started their mutual career spanning nearly 40 years. Regarding community service, this individual was active in the church as superintendent of the church Sunday school for 8 years, treasurer of the church for 4 years, participated with the church group for 2 years doing volunteer service projects, and regular participant in the men's Bible study group for over 20 years. Served as president of the Optimists and received the award for meritorious devoted service, Optimist of the Year, and received an award for volunteer hours spent with youth. Was treasurer of the Cemetery Association for 15 years and a board member for Community Scholarship Foundation for 4 years. Regarding the Mutual Insurance Association of Iowa activities, this individual served on the MIAI Board of Directors, served on numerous MIAI committees, and served as president of our association, frequently representing the state association with our congressional contact program to Washington, D.C. In regards to NAMIC, this individual obtained the NAMIC PFMM, our Professional Farm Mutual Managers designation, was a regular attendee to the NAMIC CEO Roundtable meetings, serving as a presenter and a facilitator over the years. Served on the Grinnell Board and now as Director Emeritus. Being a Director Emeritus might be compared to, in golf terms, as wearing the green jacket, or a successful horse race turned out to pasture with the ladies, or an unsuccessful horse race being sent out to the glue factory. This individual has been married for over 50 years, has 3 adult sons, many grandchildren. Also volunteered with the chain gang at his high school football games for over 30 years. Has a contagious belly laugh and has always been follically impaired and could have been used as a template for the children's toy, Wooly Willy. I have worked with him for over 30 years in the mutual insurance industry and have always found him to be humble, involved, resilient, unselfish, faithful, and caring, both personally and professionally, inside and outside the insurance industry. I consider him to be a good friend. It is always good to be able to call someone friend. This year's Prime Award winner is Jim Book. Please join us in congratulating Jim Book.
And here is the clock that we were sent.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well deserved.
Well, thank you very, very much, especially you, John, for that distinguished introduction. You know, this is something that is really near and dear to my heart. I kind of reviewed all of the past recipients, and it is truly an award that I will cherish forever. With that, I'd like to thank Stephanie and my staff for over the years for allowing me to, you know, attend a lot of the meetings and stuff, because without a good staff behind you, I think all of us will testify that you know, any time away from the office, you have to turn things over to them, and it's highly important to have a great staff. And I compliment them for that, and for my board of directors for allowing me to spend time away from the office. With that, again, I say thank you very much, and I think I'll try to take this home and have it hung on the wall someplace, but I think I'll turn those duties over to my wife, who has a lot of experience of hanging stuff on the walls. So, so thank you once again, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Congratulations again, Jim. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Good to see you. So good to see you.
Great.
Okay, well, this concludes the formal portion of today's convention webinar. Please visit the virtual exhibitors starting at 11:05 this morning and again at 9:15 tomorrow morning. We will convene tomorrow's meeting via Zoom for the MIAI annual meeting, the Iowa County and State Mutual Guarantee Fund annual meeting, and the introduction of our new board at 10 o'clock a.m. Thank you for all attending today.